It's been a while, so let's do some behind the scenes.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another behind the scenes tastic episode of Empire Radio. I'm Jeremiah,
I'm Drew.
and we are back with Light and Magic episode 2.
Wait, wrong button.
Oh gosh. All right. Well, so we did the first episode like last year, like 2 summers ago, I think, something
Whenever
like that.
it just came out, I think we did it like when it got released, didn't we?
Something like the first episode, and we were like, man, it ended on, it was weird. It was like a documentary, but it ended on a cliffhanger. It was kind of weird, and I guess we weren't too excited to go to the next one because it's been over a year since we've
Why didn't we ever go back?
Because we're stupid. We'd rather do Ewoks than some. Because this episode of this thing was great. This
Oh my gosh, thing. It's so good. Like even my wife was like, "Wait, so George?" Like she was asking all the questions about George Lucas, and I was like,
because I learned something about George Lucas I didn't know.
Well, I think
we'll get into that. We'll get into that. But
I told my wife, I stopped it. I'm like, can you just watch it? Like, why are you asking me questions when he's telling you the answer? Right. It was funny. That's what she loves doing that stuff.
Yep. So if you like documentaries, or even if you don't like documentaries, I think this Light and Magic one is a really interesting format and how they do things. And so the Light and Magic really on Disney Plus. We did the first episode. This is the second episode. So we're gonna kind of go through it quick, kind of like some talking points. It's probably just kind of like random talking. We're not going to have much structure, but if you want more details, so the first 2 episodes are about the making of A New Hope, and it's super interesting. I learned a lot of cool stuff, especially with this episode too. So there's that. But before we get into that episode, we got 2 news things, kind of. Well, one news, one fun fact about us type of thing. But
cool.
Today, on the 29th of November, was Spotify Wrapped. And so if you're on Spotify, you got notified of all your statistics from this year on Spotify. And as creators that we have our content on Spotify, we get fun facts about
us,
our audience. And so
you guys,
we got some cool last year's facts, like the ones that they gave us were way more cool than this year. We only got a few like interesting things. But this year our audience has grown 30%.
That's pretty cool.
That's a lot of people. So this year, 30%. And which is interesting is of that 30%, 77% of those people have been international people.
Wow.
So here's our top 5 like most followed new followers from our international audience. Number 1, Portugal. Hi Portugal, what's up?
Hello.
Mexico.
That's dope.
Mexico, cool. Austria, Brazil, and Singapore. So,
all right.
You're new. So we have hundreds of new followers from around the world that are following us. Hey, send us a voicemail. Like,
yeah, for real.
Like at the end of every episode, we do our voicemails. And if you're from one of these countries, or if you're new this year and you're from another country, dude, just send us a voicemail. We love to hear accents. We love to hear you say, "May the force be with you" in your language. Super cool. So get on that. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes, do that. We would love that. And that's so cool. Like I would have never thought Portugal.
Or Brazil or Singapore. Like Mexico, I get because they're our neighbors to the south. And so
we can knock on their door.
We can knock on their door. Or we could just walk across the border because there's not a lot of wall there or fences. But yes, so that's cool. Also, the amount of content that we have posted compared to last year, we are 6% more, which is about
like one more episode,
which is about 300 minutes extra, which most of that was covered by the 4-hour EU with Andrew we had. So thanks to Andrew, our
Andrew, there you go. It was like that, and then like probably when we had to do like
we had
episodes.
We had multiple episodes that were over 3 hours this year. So
but didn't we have it where like in a week though we had to do like 2 episodes?
There was, and then we had Star Wars Celebration, which we did like 5 episodes that weekend or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so
that makes sense.
But it was still, compared to 3 years ago or 2 years ago, we have less time though. Because like the first one that we ever got, like from 2021 wrap, we had like 6,400 minutes. And this year we only have 5,700 minutes. So losing a person really cuts down on our content. But
cuts the podcast episodes a little bit. And then also we had a lot more time back then.
That is true.
Like the world did nothing and we could just BS about everything.
Right.
And everyone listened too.
Yeah. And our number 1 episode that people listened to this year, which is a surprise. I could have looked at the numbers and I would have known this, but our top 5 misunderstood things in Star Wars was our number 1 listened to episode, which is cool. Like I thought it was going to be like a breakdown one of like a Mando episode or a Ahsoka episode, but no. So that's cool. So go check that one out if you have not listened to that one or watched it on YouTube. Go check it out. Because I remember on YouTube it was a bump on views on that one too. So
yeah, why was that? That one and the hot take one on YouTube.
Yeah,
the one I wasn't involved in.
Yeah,
I kind of thought it was just because I wasn't there, but you know,
it was also a clickbaity topic too. So
we should do another hot take. Clone Wars hot take.
If you want to come up with a list of 15 hot takes like Andrew did for us, go right ahead when you have time, which you don't have time. So
yeah, I don't have time. Will, get on it. Thank you. Send me your list.
Yeah, Will, what are we paying you for? Let's get a list.
Come on, Will.
But that's the wrap. That was kind of like the main highlights that we had from that for this year. So that's cool. But send us your wrapped information. If you're on Discord, people have been posting all day in the Discord their wrap stuff.
So they're posting on Discord, not on our Instagram?
Correct.
You guys, tag us on Instagram.
Tag us on Instagram. So
send us
Nate.
Put in your story and tag us, and then we'll reshare your story.
Yep. Shout out to Nate, who you hear in the voicemail sometimes and in the Spotify Q&A. He listened to he found us this year and listened to every single of our episodes. So this is episode 233 today. And his was 25,000 minutes of Empire Radio that he so he's a top 0.1% top or whatever. So like he's better than the 1%. He's a top 1% of 1% or whatever.
He's an A++.
Yeah, so he's technically our number 1 fan. So thanks, Nate Keeney. You're the best. Next year you're gonna be on the same board as everybody else. So if you want that number 1 spot again, you gotta listen to every single
start over.
I'm
interesting. I want to hear what his favorite episode was.
Yeah, Nate, let us know, or we could do that for our Q&A for this episode. What was your favorite episode from 2023?
Yeah.
All right, cool. That's it for Wrapped, I think.
Yes.
But big news from last week.
Yes. Which everyone probably knows about.
Everybody knows, but we were off last week for Thanksgiving, so we didn't cover this. But hashtag give it to Dave.
We won, boys.
We did it. Yep. It's now officially hashtag they gave it to Dave because because he got a promotion and he is now Chief Creative Officer And so he is basically in the top 3 of the people. So it's him, Kathleen Kennedy, and someone else. I didn't catch that. I think it was another woman. They're leading the way, and so he is going to have a voice in every Star Wars project out there. And so I don't know if that means he's going to be doing any writing, which is kind of sad if he doesn't do any more writing. Because I want him to write episodes of Mandalorian and Ahsoka.
I feel like there's certain projects though they can't just pull from him.
Right, and so we don't know exactly how that's going to play out, but we're super excited. I've never had any loss of faith in Dave Filoni.
Nope.
I think he's
consistent.
He's consistent. Now, sure, that racing episode of The Bad Batch. Sorry, Addie, but they're not that great. But so I'm just excited because now there's going to be a more central person involved in story making, and that's going to be really good for like the Mandoverse stuff, moving towards a movie and the Thrawn movie and all that stuff. And
bro, that meme you posted in our private Discord.
Oh, the Skywalker one.
I was dying, bro.
Dude, I saw that and it made me so mad. Okay,
so funny.
I think it was someone in our in the community Discord posted that, and then I sent it in our Discord in the Dank Ferric memes channel, and then I sent it to you guys. But was it from Arthur? The cartoon?
It's Arthur's fist.
Arthur's fist. There's a meme where it's like he's like clenching his fist, and it's just that, and it's the moment you realize that in the Rey movie, all the Padawans are going to call her Master Skywalker. I'm like, no. I was so mad because that's so true. It's going to happen.
So true, bro.
And so do you think that they're going to troll the fans a little bit and have a scene when they're fighting off a group of enemies and one of the Padawans says, Master Skywalker, there's too many of them. What are we going to do? Do you think they're going to do that?
Accent? I would be happy. I would laugh.
I hope they do that.
And the kid has to have an accent too. They have to have an accent,
and it has to be like the same angle too, like where she's like facing away from him, like with her lightsaber lit, and it's still like there, and the kid's like behind the blade, like saying, I think that would be a great way to troll the fans. But I'm so mad that they're going to be calling her Master Skywalker, or maybe they'll just do Master Rey.
Hopefully. Oh, maybe because they say Master Luke,
Master Yoda,
maybe
Master Obi-Wan sometimes.
But okay, but the thing is, Yoda doesn't have a last name
that we know of.
That's what I'm saying. Like, well, that it seems like anyone knows.
Right. So yes. Anyway, Dave Filoni, they gave it to him.
Yeah. Hashtag give it to Dave was a success. We did it. Now we need to do hashtag give it to John. Just give all of Star Wars. Take Kathleen out and replace it with
Okay,
John.
We're done with Kathleen Kennedy talking about her. Because remember, she's involved in all the stuff that we love too. So
hashtag take it from Kathleen.
But yeah, so I'm thrilled about this.
Yeah, I am too.
And I'm just hoping. I have great hope for the future of Star Wars now. Like I'm very excited for it. And I just don't want it to be where everything bombs and then we all turn on Dave Filoni. I'd be so sad if that happens. That'd be so bad. And then it's going to be like when, after episode 3, everyone shames Jar Jar Binks because he's the one that put Palpatine in power because he wanted everyone to vote.
Mm-hmm.
Like everyone's going to blame us for the hashtag give it to Dave. Like Empire Radio, they're the ones that did this. They ruined Star Wars. Like that'd be good publicity.
I mean, yeah, I'll take the heat.
But yeah, so that's the news.
Nate, what was the first episode we said hashtag give it to Dave? Probably like Mando.
No, it would have been in the first few months that we did it, the 3 of us. Because I don't think we did it during the Mandalorian podcast. I think it was us 3. I'm guessing it had to have been in the first few months.
Did Nate also go listen to?
I don't know.
Our 2 other podcasts that we had for short-lived?
I have no idea. I could go click on the Wrapped on those ones and see what.
We
I logged
should.
into them the other last month, and there's like almost no views on them as of late, just because they've been inactive. But
yeah,
because I had to log into them because they were like, oh, Gmails that have been inactive for X amount of years are going to get deleted. They Google announced that, so I was like, well, we have emails for those podcasts, so I might as well just log into that podcast.
bro, I probably have so many book emails that I made to get free audiobooks.
Don't tell the public about that, but anyway,
Anyway,
that's the news. Hashtag they gave it to Dave, so that's cool. Yeah. But let's talk about some behind the scenes of
behind the scenes.
Yeah. So this one episode is called "On the Bucking Bronco," because George Lucas says that line in this episode. Mm-hmm. And yeah, basically they almost got the whole movie canceled because of how terrible production was, and that's basically this behind the scenes, which is kind of interesting. But we learned some cool things about George Lucas, which is weird that they didn't bring this up in the first episode.
The first episode is pretty much about ILM, if
right.
I remember correctly.
Right, because it was kind of mainly like the start of ILM and like them trying to like make the miniatures and all the sets like smaller, like whatever. And then this one's kind of like George Lucas comes back from the filming of like the people, like actors, and comes back to the United States, and then him coming back and finding all the production that they've been doing at the same time with like the miniatures and creating sets and stuff was behind, and it's just kind of like the chaos that ensued. But we learn how George Lucas got involved in filmmaking, and so he was in a car crash when he was a teenager. Did you know this?
I did know this.
You did? I didn't know this. So he was in a terrible car crash when he was a teenager driving his car, and it was in the paper. So this was in the 1960s or whatever. And like the picture of the car was wrapped around a tree. Yeah, like it was fully elevated in the tree, wrapped around it. And he survived that. Like he woke up in the hospital, and the nurse was like, "Good news, you have both your arms and both your legs still." Like I don't know how he survived that, but he did. And he said, because at this point, like he was just kind of like flunking school and doing terrible and like being rebellious. And this car crash basically like said, he's like, I survived this, so that must mean I'm here for a reason. I'm going to take life a little bit more seriously. So,
like when he said that in this episode, he started tearing up in this documentary, which was really, really cool. But it was like a really powerful moment.
It's just crazy how if he died in that car accident or like got paralyzed or something,
what would you do?
We wouldn't have Star Wars. Like,
yeah,
it's a crazy thing. Like, one person's life has the effect on the world.
The world. In every movie we've seen so far.
Right, because ILM is involved in so many movies. And so, like, we wouldn't have Gollum. Because ILM created Gollum. And so...
Gollum, I mean...
all kinds of movies. Like
he was also, like, one of the founders of Pixar.
Was he?
Yeah. He helped find, like... It wasn't in this podcast, but it's, like, a different thing.
Oh.
And so, like, yeah, he's had such an impact on this, like, on the industry of movies. And, like, we've said this before, and everyone really does know this. But to think that the reason why he ended up doing this was because he almost died.
Right. And so...
and he had an awakening.
Yeah. So originally, like, the plan that his dad had for him was to take over the family business, because his dad was a business owner and he owned like a stationery. It's like basically like office supplies.
Yeah, it was like a small
like corner store basically thing. Yeah. So like that was like what his dad wanted him to do, and George was like, I don't really want to do that. Like, whatever.
He's like, I don't want to. I don't have a job that I do the same thing every single day.
Right. Which I think a lot of us can
Relate to that.
sympathize with.
Yeah. When
Um,
he said that, I was like, "Oh, sad."
um, but yeah. So, but he ends up just going to college, um, and he took a lot of classes on like was it like anthropology and sociology and stuff where
Mhm.
like he got really into like understanding cultures and like how society works, and like that's kind of like the building block of what inspired him to make Star Wars, because when you think of Star Wars, he's like, you have to create a society, like you got to build a world from scratch. Like I want to remake something new, and because like so many movies are just, oh, it's just us in our world, and we're just making stories based on us,
Mhm.
and like even um what I'm trying to think, like there's movies from like the 1940s and 50s where basically it was just like they would like make movies about the Middle East, and it's just like white people
Us.
like acting like normal everyday people, but just in the desert, like on riding camels. Like that's not how the world works.
Yeah.
And so he's like, no, you got to make a society from scratch and make it its own separate thing from us. And that was kind of like his philosophy with creating Star Wars. And I think that's very true, because Star Wars is a very unique universe, like in
Mhm.
storytelling. Because like if you told me to make a set for a Star Wars show or movie, and this was like clothes and stuff, like I wouldn't know how to do. I would not know how to mimic the aesthetic of Star Wars, like and have it not look like Star Trek or not look like another futuristic thing or something. Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't know. And like you see people make like fan films, and like there's fan films, they work with what they got. I get it, but like it doesn't look like Star Wars, and it
It
takes
doesn't
you
have
out
that
of it.
feel.
And it's like I don't know how to mimic that, but like Lucasfilm, they have it down to a science. The people they hire to do it, they know how to do it,
Mhm.
and it's all because George Lucas is like, you have to make a society, a world, build a culture from scratch, and it's its own thing, which I thought was really cool.
Yep. Great. Yeah, it was like really cool to see how much um he was like super into sci-fi, like really into it, and like when he started figuring out what he wanted to do, he created like a short film that won a bunch of awards, but then like his next project was working alongside the director of The Godfather, but before he went off and did The Godfather, he did, I don't remember what movie it was that he.
Well, there's two movies that they mention, uh, THX 1138, and then there was American Graffiti.
Mhm.
So those were like the two big movies that George Lucas made before Star Wars that gave him a name.
Yeah,
Um,
American Graffiti was the big one. That one was.
yeah, that was, so it was THX 1138 first, and then American Graffiti. Um,
And is that THX one, is that the short film one?
I don't know. Um,
It looks so interesting.
it's like like a weird space sci-fi thing.
It looked
Um,
really indie. Like, I could
it,
see, like, small directors making something like that now.
right. And so like, I don't know. I don't know. I never seen it, but like I looked up American Graffiti, and it is on Paramount Plus
Oh, it is?
if you have a
Oh,
premium subscription. So it's on Showtime.
yeah,
So
yeah.
like if you have Showtime, or if you have premium Paramount Plus, it's on there. So I was like, that's cool. I might go watch it, because
Well,
I never.
I've always said that if you guys, if the fans want, maybe this could be a different poll or something. You guys want us to break down American Graffiti? I'd be down. Because I've always wanted to watch it, but I haven't yet. And after watching this too, I was like, "Oh, I really wanna watch it." There's, like, some good actors in there from, like, that I remember as kids, you know? Like, and it apparently it's a comedy, which I didn't even know that.
Which I didn't. Um, know that either. I just didn't know anything about it, but I'm just looking up. So young Richard Dreyfuss, young Ron Howard is in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then Harrison Ford is also in it too.
I knew Harrison was. I didn't realize that Ron Howard was actually in it as like the main guy. Like this is how little I knew about. I knew that he made this movie called American Graffiti. It wasn't about graffiti art, and it was about really nice cars. And I knew that Harrison was in it. It was like one of the first movies Harrison was in.
And Richard Dreyfuss, he's a big actor, but like he's not really. I don't know. Is he still alive? I'm gonna quick look at this. He's still alive, but he's super old. He was the dad in What About Bob?
Mm-hmm.
That's Richard Dreyfuss. If you haven't seen What About Bob, go watch that movie. It's really good. But yeah. So those movies got so American Graffiti was George Lucas's kind of like experiment of creating a society, because like he's like, I want to create an aesthetic, and it's all these super nice. Now we see them as classic cars, but this was the late 1960s. It came out in 68, I think. So a lot of these cars are only like 10, 20 years old or something like that at this point.
Yeah.
And so, but like cars back then, it was an art form back then. Today, everything looks the same, basically. But all these cars
back then were so cool.
They're hot rods. They're all these cool cars, and they're all like bright colors. And he's like, I want this to be like the setting of this movie, and he created that look. And I think that one won Best Picture.
Yeah, I think so. And like, what was cool about it was like Ron mentioned in this documentary, he's in it, and he was talking about how it took him 6 months to actually pick the actors that were going to be in it. And I guess one day Ron said that to him, and he was like, well, it took me about 6 months to figure out what cars were in it too. So don't feel offended by that.
It did not win Best Picture, but it was nominated for Best Picture.
Oh, okay.
But
what beat it that year?
Probably a movie we never even heard of. I can go. So Best Picture, The Sting.
Which that's a.
No, you don't. Whatever.
Never heard of it.
You know what else was nominated that year? The Exorcist came out that year. The original Exorcist. Well, okay, this would have been for 1973 when the movie came. I thought it was 68, but it was 1973. But yeah, I never heard of this thing. But
maybe you should go watch it.
No. Yeah. I've thought about like watching every Best Picture from every year. And I'm like, no, that's stupid. I'm not.
Sometimes they're not that great. Some of the movies they pick. But yeah, it was like really cool. And like American Graffiti was sweet because that was kind of what he did in his childhood. Was like, he's like, it was a culture where people were connected to their cars, and they would just drive. They go on rides, and they would just go down the like major road, and everyone would just drive and talk to each other in their cars, and like that's how you got a girl. Like it was like a really interesting culture, and I feel like that kind of was like the culture in the 50s though.
Yeah, and people actually had friends in real life and hung out with people in real life, and so it's a thing that we have lost in our society is real life, person to person friendships. And so kids, if you're listening, invest in real life relationships.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say invest into a hot rod.
Or that too.
Buy a hot rod. Find another friend that has one and just start cruising.
Put more effort into real life people, because we're built to be in relationship with people. So
community.
Groups. So definitely do that. Get off your phone. Stop listening to us. Go hang out with a friend.
Oh Lord, no. Introduce your friends to us.
Yes, and listen together. Sit together.
Listen in a group. on a nice
in your
speaker.
car while you take a drive.
Yeah, there you go.
But don't drag race with friends. Don't do that. That's bad. She's like, I did that when I was a teenager. But yeah, so from this, like with the whole idea of like building a society and like creating something, he said something to make a new mythology, and that's like what he wanted to do with Star Wars. Like when he kind of presented this idea, like he wanted to create this new mythology, but like no one bought into it, like no one cared.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I thought was really cool was the way that he got like these studios to like and producers or whatever to buy into this new mythology that he's trying to create, a space opera. He recruited Ralph McQuarrie to draw and create this new mythology with artwork. And so this is where we get all those cool drawings. If you look it up, Ralph McQuarrie concept art for Star Wars, like all of the whole Star Wars aesthetic, the world that we know, came from Ralph McQuarrie. He made these designs, and this is what convinced studios, whatever studio it was it Fox or 20th
Yeah,
Century,
20,
like whatever the
20th Century
executives there,
Fox.
like they saw these and that's what they bought into. Like
Mm-hmm.
they created a new mythology through this artwork by Ralph McQuarrie, and today it's still being used for Star Wars. Like
I was gonna say, there's multiple things that we're getting that are like loosely designed off of Ralph McQuarrie's designs, and like
yeah, like
even like all those small clips that are at the end of all the Mandalorian of like scenes, the artwork.
concept art, like the spiders,
Yep.
like that we got from Mando, like that season 2, episode 2, like those were directly taken from a Ralph McQuarrie drawing.
Mm-hmm.
Zeb from Rebels,
Yep. Was
he was the
originally
original Chewbacca design,
Chewbacca design.
and
Yep.
they just made him into a Lasat for Rebels. Like
Mm-hmm.
so, all these designs were are still being used, and it's cool. So,
There is a Ralph McQuarrie art book you
is
can
there?
get.
Is
Yeah.
that new?
No, I think it's been out for a little bit. I want to say Andrew has it.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that they had one, but that's something I'd be interested in just to look at. That'd be cool
Yeah,
to have.
like it's like a long book, and you can just like look at all the pieces, and there's like a little story about every single piece he did.
Like I want when the Mandoverse is done with the Thrawn single
Mhm.
movie, not a trilogy,
Mhm.
that they have all the concept art, like all the stuff from the credits and the other extra drawings that they had. It'd be cool to have that in a book. The
A book.
Mandoverse concept art.
They
But
have that. It comes out every year. Every season that they have had, there's a book about all the art.
is it? It is.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. But
Yeah, you can collect them. They're at Target.
It's only like 10 pages per like.
Oh, like they do the whole concept art of all the episodes
Well, I did not know that.
with the storyboards and stuff.
Well, either way, hopefully at the end of the Thrawn movie, they come out with like a whole volume of everything. It's like
Mm-hmm.
500 pages. Like that'd be cool just to look through.
Go through.
Yep. But yes. So this was, leading up to the trying to make the movie. So then it kind of like time jumps ahead a little bit. So because like the first episode was they're showing all the production of them trying to make all the models and miniatures and stuff like that. And so it kind of popped back to the end of that story from episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because, like we said earlier, George Lucas was out in Europe and Tunisia and stuff like that, filming with the actors. And this picks up when he comes back to this. And so they said that they were given $2 million to make all the props and all the miniatures and stuff. And they used $500,000 to create ILM at this point. And so like a fourth of their budget was just to create a company.
Well, and Lucas said that he spent almost $2 million out of his own pocket from American Graffiti. It was like 100 and like it was 1,000,000 like and 500, I think he said, of his own personal money from American Graffiti to help create ILM too.
I missed that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he comes back and they're so far behind.
Yeah.
Nothing's done. They said only 3 shots have been filmed at this point.
And they said that in the last episode.
Yeah.
Too.
And so comes back and he's freaking out. He's super.
Wouldn't you be too though?
Well, yeah, like he's super freaking out. He's becomes overwhelmed because there's so much chaos in the studio, and he like
thought he had a heart attack.
Thought he had a heart attack, and he went to the hospital, and they're like, "We don't know what's wrong." Like, have you been under any stress lately? He's like, "Yeah, definitely." And so that was that. Like, he's like, "All right, we gotta figure this out." Blah blah blah, and which I feel like I remember this a little bit from the first episode. Maybe they did it, but like they really focused on this episode. But they had a rough cut of the film made that they wanted to show the executives or whatever, and it was just like footage from World War II flights, like airplane flights, like they were just make from movies or whatever.
They
and
said it literally seemed like a World War II documentary.
Yeah, because they just took these. All right, just picture this as a TIE fighter and X-Wings or whatever. Like this kind of like what this scene will look like, them chasing, fighting, dogfighting, and like the executives were not impressed at all. Because one, you can't really see the new mythology that they're creating with these real life planes.
Well, and it went from like color images to black and white footage.
Right.
Like I wouldn't be either. You put $2 million, and back then $2 million was a lot of money.
Like they do that just like on like the food budget for like a movie now. So it's like, but they said the one thing that like impressed the producer, the executives or whatever, was like because they only had 3 shots done from the studio, and what the one was that they talked about last episode, but they focused on here was the escape pod that they filmed, like when Leia leaves, like. For whatever reason, the executives really like the escape pod being launched out into space. And all right, this is cool. Keep going. Because they were about to shut down the whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
But
which
they're
is
like
crazy too, because like that's a scene that we're just take for granted.
Yeah, like, who cares? Like and so, but they had to get their act together. So George Lucas and his team, or whatever, they hired, I forget the one guy's name, and then some lady named Rose.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, her interview was like, George's like, do you know how to write in shorthand? And can you start Monday? And she's like, yes and yes. And that's how she got the job. And her job was just to follow George Lucas around and write down everything he says.
Mm-hmm.
And then she helps with the other guy that they hired to make a production schedule to like lay it out. Like, this is how much time we got. This is what we got to get done. Boom, boom, boom. And they had to create new ways of doing a film, because this is like all new technology, all new concepts. And they got these Rose and this other guy to like create a production schedule, and that's how they got on board. But
she would write it down, and then she would type it all out, and then George would cut the pieces of paper that she wrote out, and then he would tape it on certain things, and like
right. And so
I'm pretty sure back then she was typing it on a typewriter.
No, because shorthand is. Do you know what shorthand is?
Like only writing like critical things.
Kind of. I think it's
like when you speed read, like you just read important words.
It's like a way of writing like abbreviations for everything.
Mm-hmm.
So like every word has an abbreviation rather than just like phrases or whatever. So it's like if you and I were to look at it, we wouldn't know how to read it. Like, it wouldn't make any sense to us. But someone who knows shorthand, they could read it like a novel type of thing. So it's just like.
So it's like when people like write text like JK, LOL.
It was basically like that, yeah.
Yeah.
But like.
IDK.
way more like intense. And so I think that's what that is. So I think I don't know if she would have been doing it following with a typewriter, because typewriters back then were
No, she made it
huge.
seem like at the end of the day she would type out what
maybe
he wrote, and then George would cut pieces
and
of paper
put it
and
in
then
a
tape
notebook.
them on like the right stuff that they would like on the storyboard essentially.
Right.
So she would probably translate what she wrote while she was walking around with him all day, so that he could actually read it.
Right. And so
It's stuff's like, yeah, it took a woman to actually organize and make this movie happen. I was like, oh, okay.
makes sense to
Hashtag
me.
give it to Rose, like, apparently.
Apparently. But yeah, and then they mention like the one thing that they had to do to like, because they were working like 18 hours a day. So the one thing that they had to do to get through every day was have a coffee break every day. And they were sponsored by Wesley Andrews Coffee and Tea, just like we are, which is crazy.
Wow.
Which is
We've been
so
around
crazy.
that long. Did you know that?
Yeah, even before you were born, it was already started. So, so if you want to drink the same coffee that George Lucas drank in 1976,
Same roast, everything.
The same roaster too, right, Drew?
Yep. Same roaster.
Wesley Andrews Coffee and Tea, they're a sponsor. If you want to get a discount on some great coffee and or tea, check out this commercial.
Hey everyone, Andrew here. I'm pleased to tell you that the sponsor of today's episode is Wesley Andrews Coffee and Tea. If you don't know anything about Wesley Andrews, you definitely should. They're an award-winning coffee roaster and shop in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and they make fantastic coffee. The awesome thing is that whether you live in the Twin Cities or not, you can get their coffee beans delivered straight to your door by ordering them online. They even have a subscription service that ensures you never run out of amazing coffee. If you've been looking for some new coffee to try or a way to elevate your normal coffee routine, now's your chance. Head over to wesleyandrews.cc, use the code EMPIRERADIO, that's with a capital E and a capital R with no space at checkout, to get 15% off your first purchase of any bags of coffee or a coffee subscription. I can't think of a better deal. Get 15% off some great coffee, support a small business, and support your favorite Star Wars podcast. In the words of Emperor Palpatine, do it.
Do it. All right, cool. All right, well, so in my notes, I don't really know what this means, but because you just watched it before we started recording, but they said something like they had the Star Destroyer model, and it's like when they saw the Star Destroyer, like they based off production off of that, or something like the workflow, like they planned from that. Like I can't remember what they meant by that. I don't know. Do you remember what they said? I have it in my notes, and I have no idea what I meant by it. So I watched this last week. But yeah, so I think they saw the Star Destroyer model, and they kind of was that thing like with
they like
when they filmed it, like they had to like do something with the scale, with the size, like to show how big it was, and like we have to put the camera underneath it and film it upside down or something.
Yep.
And which I didn't know is that the Tantum 4, 5, I can never remember.
Okay.
5. It's your favorite
5.
movie. 5.
I think it's 5, but now I'm questioning myself because you said 4 or 5.
I don't know. Whatever.
And now I feel like an idiot.
How the book or how the movie starts. Like it's actually connected by a wire to the Star Destroyer. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
And so they're just moving the camera. The camera itself moves, not the models.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had to figure out how to film that in a way that showed the scale of it. So they literally like put the camera like against the ship and like dragged it on it. So it was so close that it made it look bigger or something like that, which is interesting. But yeah, so then after that, they were talking about the Cantina reshoots. They're like, there's not enough aliens in this cantina, not enough different aliens.
Mm-hmm.
They look kind of empty. and they're like, "You got 6 weeks to make way more aliens, come up with designs, make the masks, get people in there so we can reshoot the Cantina stuff," which was interesting. So like all those different aliens that we see were created in 6 weeks, basically.
Which is why you get like a skeleton guy.
Yeah, you get all those ones like
Nageltooth and
like the one that they cut out or they replaced with like the new like what you watch on Disney Plus is like the werewolf guy.
Mm-hmm.
So you see him in this one,
Yep.
like in the background, but now it's replaced with something else. I don't remember. Also, they showed a scene from the original like version of when they when Obi-Wan and Luke get to
Mos Eisley.
Mos Eisley. Like it's a completely different scene.
I think that scene was like before they added in the effect of the building.
I don't know because they didn't have like the ability to like put in a CGI. Because I think what we see now is a CGI.
I think
city.
what we see, yeah.
So like what they show was like looking out like the most place of scum and villainy. Like that thing is like a completely different scene on the horizon. Which maybe you're right. Maybe it was something like before they added in some sort of overlay of putting in a city or something, matte painting or something. But I'm like, this does not look familiar at all. And I'm like, oh, this is probably from the original cut because there's a lot that they've added in and changed with CGI in the what we see on like the Blu-ray versions and then what's on Disney Plus, which
Yep.
I'm surprised they haven't released
the original
stuff.
I would cry. And we would watch them again and break them down.
Maybe. Because you can go on YouTube and people have
like
the side-by-side comparison that you can watch.
When I used to like watch, I used to every May 4th, me and my cousin I had the VHS box set, the 3 box set. I still have it. And I had a VHS player and we would watch it every year, the original 3 on VHS, and it was not the updated one.
The pre-1997?
Yeah. So you got like the original, it was the original box set before the HD one. So you had like a different song at the end of the movie on episode 6. You had like Jabba's Palace, that dun, 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 that song.
Yeah.
That's not the original song. This is a different song in there.
Oh, it is? Oh.
Yeah. Like there's like a lot of things. There's a lot less fake looking creatures in episode 4 that you see walking around. Like there's like only one bantha. There's not like a group of banthas.
Right. And but isn't there like a wampa arm, like where like you see the arm of the guy like in the thing, like that's in the original, like where you see where they didn't the camera he put his hand into the scene further than he was supposed to, and you see the end of like the glove of the wampa
I don't
glove.
remember that, but that wouldn't surprise me. Like I don't remember that part. But then like there's also like I don't know, it just feels a little less full, but at the same time it feels more realistic because there's not a lot of like poor CGI and especially the New Hope one. Like you don't get the Jabba the Hutt and Hondo scene is like completely not even in there.
Yeah.
Or yeah, Han, sorry. That scene's not even in the movie.
Right.
So.
But yeah. And so and then from this they added the claymation for the Hollow Chess game. Which is cool. It's cool they added it extra because originally what they were thinking of doing was just filming people and like putting the camera far away so it looked like they were smaller. But they're like, no, a movie just came out. Like some other like space movie came out, and they were playing a chess game, and they used like a large giant chess set, and it was just people in costumes, and it looked like a chessboard, and it made it look like this is what they were using. We're like, no, we can't copy what just came out. We got to do something new. So they did the claymation, and so that's cool. That they just kind of like made it up in the moment to like do that, which is cool. And I think that was like another 6 weeks to like make these designs and then film it.
Just for like the brief scene that's in.
But now it's like the standard of like now every time it comes up, we see those same creatures, which is interesting. And then they ended with stuff about the Death Star, and they said they almost cut, like the executives wanted to cut the whole Death Star bombing, like attack, like they wanted to get rid of that. There's like, all right, no, it's too much work. The movie is you go in, rescue the princess, and that's it, which would have been crazy to do, because then like that would mean like the second movie would be when they destroy the Death Star, and then it would just like change the whole, like it would change the whole, because they would have to revisit it because Leia got the plan to the Death Star at the beginning of the movie, so it's like they would have shifted the whole rest of the, like the trilogy of how they would have done it. Like rather, we would probably wouldn't have Hoth because it would just be the Death. Maybe they would start with the Death Star run, the beginning of that, and then Luke would get a message from Obi-Wan, be like, "Go to Dagobah," or something. Like, I don't know. They could have done that, but who knows? So that was cool that it almost got cut. And the only reason the Death Star has the trench ring around it is because they needed a way to show the X-Wings and stuff going fast, because they needed stuff on the sides to show how fast you're going. Like if you're going through a canyon, they're like, yeah, when you're flying a plane through a canyon, it looks like you're going a lot faster than if you're just flying above ground, because you are seeing things move by you fast. So it's like we have to put a trench around it just so we can make it look like when we're filming on these sets that it's going fast, which is, I guess I might have known that already, but I didn't.
I mean, it makes sense too, because like even after that, like Top Gun, they do a lot of like, there's a lot of movies since then that use cannons and like small quarters to make things seem faster than they actually are.
Yeah. And so what is cool, which I didn't know, was the entire like trench run is made up of, they made 6 different like design panels of like the texture of the trench, like all the different like pipes and all the whatever. But they like made a million of those molds, but then they just cut them up into different ways, and then just randomly rearranged them so it didn't look like it was repeated over and over again, which is interesting. Like I want to go back and like do it in slow motion, like, okay, there's the same set of like 3 bars in a row, or something. But they just cut them up and like changed, like connected them to different pieces, and then like changed, like rotated 90 degrees on this one, and like they did that for the whole trench run scene, because it was just 6 different sets that they had, which is cool. And they're like, okay, we still got to like show scale of like how big the Death Star is, and so like we have to put windows in the trench run, and the windows are all the yellow dots that you see in there of like light going through a window. And so they get these little reflective pieces of material, and they just put thousands of them in there. And then the guy that was like did that like showed, so I guess George Lucas's wife at the time was working on this film, and she like looked at camera footage or whatever, and she's like, these dots are too big. You got to cut them in half and make them smaller. So they had to take out thousands of these little stickers.
So crazy, bro.
Cut them in half and then glue them back on, and then that's the small little yellow windows of light that we see in the trench run to show scale. which is kind of funny.
That's George's ex-wife, or did
ex-wife?
She didn't pass away or anything.
No, they got a divorce, so or whatever. So
separated.
That's cool that they worked on it together. And the last thing that I have in my notes was when they were filming the trench run thing, like they had to move the camera fast also. Because you can't just have the walls. Like you have to they didn't have the ability to speed up the way we can speed up when like ×2 speed or whatever. So they had to attach the camera to a truck. They put this long Death Star trench run set outside, and they're like, we have to go 30 miles an hour to get the look that we want. So it's just them with the camera down in the trench on like a beam, whatever, cross beam or whatever, and they're just going back and forth. Cool. Just, I'm like, this is so janky.
Cool. It's so like janky and like.
But it's like if they like.
That's how you had to do it back then.
Just a little bit, like he
hit a pothole.
Well, they didn't have a parking lot, so they knew it wasn't a pothole. But like if he just kind of like twitched a little bit, like the steering wheel, that camera would have went right into the whole set of the Death Star, destroyed it, and the whole movie would have never happened. They would have canceled it. Like, nope, too much, 100%. Too expensive.
Or just canceled the whole Death Star getting blown up.
Yeah, so I thought it was crazy. And then George said, this might have been hyperbole. I don't know if he meant it like for real, but he said like they're still editing the sound like the day of the release or something like that, which I don't think is true because you have to send out the film to theaters and stuff. So.
Yeah, that one makes. Or is it just like the private like the first release?
I don't know, but even then, you can't edit that sound, export it in quotations. I don't know how they do stuff.
Bro, when you forget that all this was filmed on
film, physical film.
And like there's like pictures throughout this documentary, and there's just piles of film on the ground from like all the retakes, like just layer like piles.
Looks like a Easter basket like dress, like piles of it.
Exactly.
I don't know how they found what they needed to find in that pile, but
so crazy. Yeah, exactly. Like they had to go through every single thing and like cut it here, place here, like.
It was a crazy time back then.
So much harder back then, bro.
And there's still like people that like modern films that they still try to do it on film to get a certain look because there's things you can't do.
Yeah.
In digital filming.
It's like the same where like my wife's super into her old film camera, and she like Miles's birthday pictures. Like she was taking them with her old classic camera with the flash. But when you look at the photos though, it takes you back to like when we were kids and we looked at pictures of us as little kids that our parents took. And it does have some weird like nostalgia feel to it.
Can you still bring that to Walgreens or something to get?
No, there's like
no
one really does anymore. For a while, like Walmart and Target used to still do it, but they don't really. I don't even think they do it anymore. There's like this company that Steph sends it to, like in Bloomington, that like they just develop film, and then like you get it, and then you also get like a digital copy.
Right.
So you get like you can request for the prints or just the digital, and then she gets the digital and posts it all up on like Facebook and Instagram. Like it was off of a camera, but it was off of her actual film camera. It's really cool. Like it has like a weird feel to it. And like the funny thing is like, you know how many pictures that our parents had to take of us to make sure we were cheesing? Or, you know, like now it's like, all right, everyone cheese. Oh, you didn't look. Let's like redo it. Like you forget that you could do that. There's so many pictures of Miles like like making faces and crap.
Well, they have. Funny. You see that commercial that they have now for like some camera, like smartphone, where you take pictures and you can like take the head from this picture and put it on the body.
The new Google one, you can literally take someone's head off and give them the better head from a different photo and make it on one photo.
Yeah, like that wasn't a thing back then. And like you'd print your pictures, bring them to Walgreens or Target or wherever, get them printed, like and have them back, and you look through them, And like, you remember sometimes like the person taking a picture, like their finger would be covering the lens a little bit.
Their finger, or like I remember when I first started at Target, and this was a long time ago, like right when I started college in like 2011. I worked at the Target downtown, and I worked in the film department because my older brother, just worked there, and he would tell us some weird stories. He would pictures that he had to develop, and like
I don't even want to know, dude. I don't
it's
even.
crazy. Some of the stuff was like, don't you realize other people see this because they have to like develop this
I don't think
stuff?
they knew. I think they thought they just put it in a machine and it puts them in an
But you
envelope after they
print it
print it.
out.
I don't
Like,
know, dude.
it was crazy. Good old days, man.
Yeah. So they released a film, and it was the highest grossing film of all time at that point, which was like $780 million or something like that, which is like, if you don't make that much now, you're not making money at all. Like,
No, but compared to up 2 million that they put in this film, plus some extra stuff,
whatever extra stuff. So it's like, it made a lot of profit.
A lot of profit.
Because if you think about that, well, let's just say, like, let's just say a big number, $10 million they spent on it, which is way more than they probably did. I could probably look it up, but like making 700.
Chat, help us out, Will. How much?
$700 million more? Like, that's 70 times
back then too.
So like now, if they spent $200 million to make a movie, a good one, like the top grossing movies of all time, like $2 billion, that's only 10 times what they did. So like
think about that, bro. What was the movie that finally broke that?
Oh,
wasn't it The Last Jet? Or no, like
no, I think it was The Lion King. I think the Lion. I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, we gotta look this up. Will Armad is like sleeping or something? I don't know.
So I know. So I sometimes look up like. So let's see, because on this, I look up this thing. So okay, let me go back up to the top. So this Wikipedia page has it's a list of highest grossing films, and so it has this monetary wise, but then they have like ones adjusted for inflation and stuff.
Inflation.
So right now, the highest grossing film of all time is the first Avatar movie, $2.9 billion. Second place, Avengers Endgame at 2.7. And so if I scroll down to adjusted for inflation, the original Star Wars film is actually only number 4 of all time at adjusted $3.4 billion. If it was today. So that would have been $700 million more than our current top highest grossing film of all time.
So what's in the number one?
Number one is from 1939, Gone with the Wind. At $4.1 billion, which is crazy.
Gone with the Wind. When's the last time you seen that movie?
I don't think I've ever seen it.
Your mom never made you watch that?
No.
Oh, sounds like you had a better childhood than me.
So I'll just go over this list. So number 1, Gone with the Wind. Number 2, Avatar, which is weird that they adjusted that, but I guess it is 14 years difference. Number 3, Titanic. Number 4, A New Hope. 5, Avengers Endgame. Number 6, The Sound of Music. Number 7, E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Number 8, The 10 Commandments. Number 9, Dr. Zhivago. And number 10, The Force Awakens, actually.
I knew Force Awakens was up there.
It is up there for highest grossing stuff too. So, but 2 Star Wars movies in the top 10 adjusted for.
And one of them's by Disney.
But right now, Star Wars: The Force Awakens is the highest grossing Star Wars film of all time. And that was, right now, it's number 5 in history. But at its peak was number 3.
Dang. I knew it was up there. And it was just, dude, the hype behind that movie was so real.
Yep.
I missed that.
Star Wars: The Last Jedi is currently number 19. Is there any other Star Wars? Rise of Skywalker is number 37. Rogue One is 41.
So low. It needs to be way higher than that.
The Phantom Menace at 47. Ooh, and interestingly, I'm kind of like looking at all these things. So, because it says on here like the rank of top 50, but then also has next to it like at its peak what it was ranking.
Mm-hmm.
So in 1993, Jurassic Park became the highest grossing film of all time. So that might have been the one that beat out Star Wars, if I had to guess. And then The Phantom Menace at its peak was number 2 of all time.
Oh, wow. I mean, Jurassic Park was so good, dude. Or is so. It's such a good movie still.
Dude, the T-Rex scene in the rain, 1993.
On the toilet?
That's scene, yes, the whole thing. But that T-Rex, I think, is the best CGI like we've ever got. Like one of the best things we've ever gotten. And that was 1993.
The Avatar movie is pretty good though. That water.
It is. I get that, but that T-Rex, looks believably real. And that was 1993. And now they try and do that same thing now. It doesn't even look close. That's good.
No, you're right. Like it was so good. And I'm going to Hawaii.
Yep.
I was gonna say next month.
Yeah, you told us you were gonna take the Jeep.
Yeah, did I tell you that we're
last
going?
Episode, yep.
Oh yeah. We like booked it. I'm pretty excited to like. They're not actually Jeeps. I found out they're actually side by sides.
Oh.
But they're off roading still be fun. But you like go through that whole part where like you see like all the pterodactyls fly around like those peaks and stuff on the island, and so we get to drive through like that whole point, and then you see that gate, and you walk in.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool. I think I'll like it.
Fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was episode 2 on the bucking Bronco. Okay, so he says on the bucking Bronco, and so it was like when he was about to get fired and have the whole movie, like he was holding on for dear life that he wasn't gonna get kicked off this thing. Like that's what he was describing it like. So that's what it was like for George Lucas. But he held on. He's like, if you're making a film, you have to just persist. You have to keep going. Don't stop. Don't give up. Like so, like he's like, I gotta hold on to this Bronco, ride it out. If I just hold on, we can get it done. And now we have our favorite franchise. Which is
my favorite Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Even the first half.
All right, cool.
Does this make you appreciate New Hope a little bit more?
Okay, I've never not appreciated it. I just think
I know
the stuff on Tatooine is boring, and that's not the stuff that is covered. The first 2 episodes, the stuff they covered was the second half.
To add all those characters in the cantina. Yeah,
but all this production that they were doing with miniatures was for the second half.
Facts.
Which is the good half.
All the space stuff.
Right.
Dude, that scene though when they like didn't have like the sound effects or like when they're running through and Han's like, well, they're chasing the stormtroopers the other way and it's just like one little spark and then there's no noise. It's so funny. Like when they showed that scene unedited, it was so bad.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
All right, cool. Well, we might as well transition over to everyone's favorite time of every episode, voicemail time.
It's voicemail time.
All right, cool. All right, we have 2 voicemails tonight. And so, first up, we got one from Lucy.
Ooh.
So, let's take a listen.
Hi everyone, it's Lucy stopping by to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving and just reiterate how grateful I am for all of you guys. I recently had my 50th episode of For Light and Life, which is so incredible to me, and I honestly would have never done anything like that without having found Empire Radio. I have made lasting friendships in your community, I have been inspired to take fan fiction in new directions, and I've become such a more confident and, dare I say, mature person because of your presence in my life. Meeting you and some of the other listeners at EmpireCon was an amazing experience that I wouldn't trade for the world. I think it's such a powerful thing that a bunch of random people in different places around the globe can find each other on the internet, guided by your podcast light, and connect over this shared love of Star Wars. All this to say, happy Thanksgiving to the best big brothers I could ask for, and may the Force be with you.
I didn't want to cry.
Don't make us cry, Lucy. Gosh dang it, Lucy. Yes. Happy Thanksgiving, Lucy, and to your family. Happy Thanksgiving. Thankful for you guys. Thankful for all the people who listen and follow us, and the friendships that we've made and all that jazz. So, yeah, it's good to hear from you, Lucy. And yes, you are much more confident and much more mature now. I told her, I messaged her the other day because I've been re-listening to our High Republic book reviews and breakdowns because I want to get refresher to get ready for reading this 4th book that we're doing in January. Guys, if you're gonna
mark your calendars,
January 24th, we're doing the next High Republic adult novel.
Over Christmas break.
But I was listening to the episode yesterday, or whatever it was, and in the voicemail section, it was Lucy. She sent in a voicemail that episode, and it was her 3rd ever voicemail.
Oh, wow.
And she sounded so much different. It was kind of funny, but yeah, so yes. So thank you, Lucy, for that. Those kind words.
Thanks, Lucy.
You're the best little sister we could ever ask for. So,
and I don't have a sister, so there you go.
I have a sister, but she's 11 years older than me, so I don't have a little sister. I don't even have a little brother.
Yeah, true. I was going to say, isn't she almost as tall as you, too?
Kind of. I don't know. Well, she's taller than most girls, but I'm so tall.
She's tall.
No, she's probably, what, 5'8", maybe? I don't know.
Oh, really? Well, okay. Last time I saw her, I was like
5 when you did your 5. I'm 5 years old.
I still remember that day. So, yeah, that's fair. She was huge back then. She was tall as egg.
Yes. So, all right. Well, thank you, Lucy. Next up, we have a message from our good friend Garrett, who's still on adventure, but based on this voicemail, I think something might be wrong. So let's take a listen.
Hey, Empire Radio. This is Garrett. I am currently flying through space, and I am not being held by the Hutts. There is no reason to look into my location or worry about where I am or what I am currently doing. I have a simple 2-part question for you. What age would you show your child the Star Wars trilogies? Personally, I don't think I was able to fully comprehend Star Wars before the age of 16. Also, what trilogy would you start with? Starting with 1, 2, and 3 would give them a more coherent story, but starting with 4, 5, and 6 would give them the "No, I am your father" surprise. Let me know what you think.
Oh, no.
So thank you, Garrett. And you were definitely not reading from a script from whoever was not holding you captive.
Someone's pad.
Oh, man. That was just so funny. But
that
was a really unique way of...
I liked it.
I like that.
Good job.
Good job, Garrett, on that. But I hope you're okay, because...
I don't know how to find you.
Who knows Huttese? Someone translate what was said at the end of that.
Will, get on it.
Will, get on that. Do you see what Will wrote in chat?
Yeah. I keep hearing my name, and I was like, oh, shoot, I zoned out.
But his questions for us, at what age would you show your children Star Wars, and what trilogy would you start with? So,
well, he made a good point though. Like what age do you want to show them and like they comprehend it?
Right.
Because I've already watched A New Hope with Miles.
So I don't have kids. I don't plan on ever having children. So I can't really answer this question.
Unless you adopt. Right?
No? I would rather adopt than have a kid, but I'm also not planning on getting married, so I'm not going to adopt and not be married. So that's a whole thing. Whatever.
That's a longer conversation.
But I don't know. I've thought about this like when, because people have asked me, I think like my pastor asked me like, what, like if I'm going to show my kids, like what would you recommend, like how to do it? Because like I think his oldest son is like 7. I'm like,
perfect time.
I don't know. I want to say like 8 or 9 is when you should start showing Star Wars, because I want them to understand at least to a point.
The Clone Wars, like you understand the Clone Wars, like the cartoon shows and stuff.
Yeah, but it's so don't break whatever you just kicked. We're good. But like you don't. There's so much in the Clone Wars that's so like deep and so complex. I'm like, I want them to like understand some of the subtleties of like.
Well, you have to watch it more than once.
And of course, then you'd like be watching it with them, and you can like talk to them like after every arc and like explain things and stuff, which I think would be a good parent-child interaction of like teaching them to understand stuff in Star Wars. But if I had a kid, probably like 8 or 9. But you said you already started Miles off with.
Yeah, I've like watched A New Hope and started watching it with Miles, and then he's like intrigued for like a solid 3 minutes, and then he runs off and plays with his toys. So like, I don't know, like
you were watching Visions with him, and he freaked out on that Screecher's Reach episode.
Yeah, like I don't know. There's like the stuff kids watch these days, like just on YouTube for kids. You can show them Star Wars, I should just say. Like
I get that, but it's also one, is it healthy to be showing little kids all these movies, like just like screen interaction? Like there's so many research things that like screen time is not healthy.
Oh yeah, it's not good for you.
And so like part of that is me like I think I'd be too old fashioned in raising my kids, just because I'd be like, you get like 1 hour a week on a screen until you're like 10 years old or something.
You don't have kids and they hate you already.
Yeah, I know. I'd be the worst parent ever.
Well, and like it's kind of one of those things where you say that and then you have one and you're like, I just need a break.
I know, but
trust me, it changed. I was the same way.
I don't know.
And it's so cool to watch like old cartoon shows that you used to watch as a kid. Like Miles loves Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, especially the new movie. He'll watch the whole movie and laughs at bits. And like when there's like parts where like Mikey does something stupid and gets hurt or whatever, Miles like dies laughing. And to watch it through this little 2-year-old eyes, it's like the best thing ever. So it's like, I don't know. My favorite thing on Saturday mornings is Steph sleeps in, me and Miles sneak down, and we'll watch like an old like show that I used to watch on Saturday mornings. And me and him would like sit, eat cereal out of a bowl in the living room, and we're not supposed to do that. Mom gets mad at us. And we just sit there and like just be naughty dad and son kind of things in our PJs. And it's like the best thing ever. And then it ends up with him spilling all over the floor. And then it comes back. But for a good hour, it's the best time ever. But
yeah. So, but the second part of the question was, with what trilogy would you start? Yeah. And so obviously you said you've already started.
I would do the original. Like when he actually will comprehend it, I think the original and like getting to the part, because the hard part is too, like so many kids and everyone knows like Luke, I am your father before they even watch any Star Wars.
I think our generation that's true, but I think like kids now like they don't know that, and so it's like because you
I want
can
to
go on
say that, but
YouTube.
like my like 7-year-old niece, or not 7, she's like 10 now or 11. But she like knows. She's like, wait, isn't Vader Luke's dad? I'm like, you've never even watched a day of Star Wars in your life.
There's that, but she's an exception. Like most kids who haven't seen Star Wars wouldn't know that. And like you can go on YouTube and watch like parents like filming their kids like reacting to the father reveal scene, and like the kids get shocked and like, no, is that true? No, like they just freak out. Like,
and that's
when
what
you
I want
show
to provide
Miles,
to
when
Empire
Miles,
Radio in like 5 years. When Miles is 7 in 5 years, and this is the oldest running top 5 Star Wars podcast of all time still, you guys will see that video reaction.
Yeah, you need to film Miles reacting to Vader if he doesn't already know that. But like I used to be in that camp where like I wanted people who have never seen Star Wars to like react to the father scene so much. Like, but I'm like, I don't think I want to start people out with
the sibling scene.
I'm full fledged watch in chronological order. Like all my friends that like want to get into Star Wars and ask me like how to do it, I already have a Google Doc typed up with everything in chronological order, all the shows, all the movies with like notes on like when to do things. And so like I'm all about the chronological order. I'm like, I think it's.
Do you even do that with the Clone Wars with the arcs?
Yeah, I put the link in there too. Like, here's the chronological thing.
Because that's how I watched Clone Wars. I watched it with that link of what episode to go to next.
Right. And so, yeah, I think what you could do, like, there's some people what they like to do is, like what do they call it? Like the machete way or something. I can't remember what they call it, but it's like you watch episode 4, then you go and watch 1 and 2, and then watch 5, and they get the Vader reveal. But they already know that Anakin is Luke's father, but they didn't know that Anakin turned to the dark side. So they see that Anakin is Vader in episode 5, and then they watch episode 3,
and then they watch 6,
the fall. So yeah, so it's like that, but that's way too confusing.
No.
So chronological all the way, Garrett. I'm full fledged on that that bandwagon.
Yeah, I don't know. I gotta think about it. I got like 5 years before Miles will actually understand. The thing is, Miles knows Vader.
Right.
Like, he knows that character. Because, like, I have so many toys. And he's the first Star Wars character that he knew. He knows Vader. And he knows Mando because I have, like, a Mando pop on my desk at work. And so anytime, like, his grandpa drops him off to me, he goes to the desk and said, Mando, and he grabs a Mando toy, and then he plays with the IG-11. They shoot each other. He makes them fight.
Right.
So, yeah.
Cool.
I don't know. That's a good question.
All right. Well, thank you, Garrett, for that question. It's a good question. Hopefully you're safe. Hopefully you can use your space magic or space powers, whatever you call it that one time, to get out of there safe and sound. Hope maybe someone will come and rescue you. I don't know. Like, we don't know what's going on. The plot has thickened.
Yep.
All right. Cool. Well,
is that it?
That's it. No more voicemails. Wow. That's it. So let's go over some social media and we can get out of here for tonight. So if you're new to the podcast, which based on our Spotify Wrapped, 77% of our new listeners this year from international locations around the world. But if you're new this year, and you're just getting caught up, join the Discord. Join us, follow us on Instagram. You can all do all that by the link in the description, links.co/Empire Radio, link spelled 2 I's, landing page for everything. So join the Discord, get caught up with all the cool shenanigans in the Discord, talking with people. There's channels for everything Star Wars to talk about, anything you want to talk about. Follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook, YouTube. We have video versions uploaded to YouTube every week, all of our episodes. Follow us on Twitch, where we live stream every episode. So if you just can't wait for the audio version or YouTube version, you can watch the live stream with us.
Interact with us.
Yep, in the chat, talk to us.
Talk to you guys and yell at Will, and you guys can yell at Will too.
A little quiet in the chat tonight, but that's all right. And then let's see. There's the fan email. If you want to send us an email, if you want to get connect, talk to us, do that. You can do that as well. We are also part of needlesslynerdy.com, which is an entertainment network that we're a part of. So if you like other nerdy content outside of Star Wars, go check that out. There's stuff about like Marvel and like other movies. Like we had Cal on a few weeks ago, and he has his own podcast, part of that. So he does all kinds of movie breakdowns and all kinds of stuff. There's stuff for everybody at Needless Nerdy. So go check that out. Oh, and if you want to send a voicemail, we said, hey, if you're from out of the country, you're new, send us a voicemail.
Mm-hmm.
Just to say hi. That's all you gotta do. You don't gotta make it. You don't gotta come up with some elaborate plot like Garrett or something like Tori. Just make something up fun.
Send a voicemail, ask us questions, and don't be afraid to ask us a question. And just because you might think maybe we already got asked that, we're at episode 230 something.
Yeah,
we definitely probably forgot the question, or we have a different answer by now.
Just don't ask us. Just don't ask us what planet we would want to live on, because we've gotten that about 10 times. Star Wars planet to live on, like, because we love non-Star Wars stuff. We have 200 some episodes now of all Star Wars content. We like talking about non-Star Wars stuff. So if you have a non-Star Wars question, we'd love to do that too.
Yep.
Fun debates, fun discussions about random things is always great. So.
And go to YouTube. There's all extra content over there sometimes as well.
Yeah, reaction videos, watch parties, trailer reactions, product reviews, unboxings.
I need to do some more of those. Toy hunts. Con vlogs. There's a lot over there. So go over YouTube.
Cooking. I haven't done a cooking video in...
Yeah, you need to step up your game.
The last time I did a cooking video, Star Wars themed cooking video, was with the collab with Sydney. And that was
2 years ago.
That was like March 2021. So
yeah, almost 2 years ago.
So
yeah. Send suggestions to what you want Jeremiah to
2022. It was 2022.
It was not
January. It was March of 2022, not 2021. 2022. So it's been almost 2 years coming up in this coming spring. But Sydney, how are you? I haven't heard from you in a while. What's up, Sydney? From Cinemakery. Go follow her on Instagram. She does a lot of cool baking stuff on there.
Go follow Lucy on her podcast too.
Yeah, For Light and Life.
Yes.
Go check that out.
Our little sister podcast.
So the last chapter of her book dropped.
I need to catch up.
On Sunday. So I listened to episode 9 finally, and then 10 just came out, so I haven't listened to that yet, but yeah, pretty good. Pretty nuts. What's going on in that story? So, but if you're going to follow her and listen to that story, you got to watch our fan film, The Voicemail Cinematic Universe, which is on YouTube. Go check that out. Crazy fan film-length movie made by the fans for the fans. So go check that out before you watch.
Fans.
About the fans. Before you listen to Lucy's fan fiction, which is a sequel story. But like she said today, she had her 50th episode. So I think, and then this last episode she was 51. So after she sent that voicemail in, maybe I think. Mm-hmm. So there's all kinds of stuff on her channel that you can get caught up on too. So yeah, so that's everything. Anything else, Drew?
No, buy coffee.
Buy coffee. Yep.
Free plug, extra plug for Wesley Andrews.
And so next week, we plan on having an EU with Andrew next week.
Yeah, Andrew's back next week.
So
tell your neighbors, tell your friends, chat.
Yep.
You guys better be going off next week.
I think the rumor is he's finally going to do EU Luke, which would be a multiple episode presentation. I think that's what we're doing, but who knows? He might throw us a curveball and do something else. But I think that's the plan. So get excited for that. Hopefully, it's not another 4-hour episode like his last EU with Andrew, but
it will
that's
be
another story. But I think that's it. Drew, anything else?
Nope, that should be it.
All right, cool. Well, you've been listening to another behind-the-scenes-tastic episode of Empire Radio. I'm Jeremiah.
I'm Drew.
And may the Force be with you.
Always.